Hey guys, welcome back to the Another Excuse podcast, where we chat to founders, creators, and self starters about how they started and where they are now. Today's guest is James Dalais, the founder of Jacfruit, an urban farm in Mauritius. In the episode, we discuss the struggles of bootstrapping a business and learning from your mistakes, the difficulty of detaching your ego from doing what's necessary, and removing yourself from your social circle to give you perspective and to help you prioritize what's important to you. Enjoy the show. To get started, could you give us a bit of context on how you ended up creating an urban farm in Mauritius and what led you here?
How's it goes? So yeah, I don't know. It all kind of came from me kind of finding out what I wanted to do. And I remember in university kind of focusing so much on this like indoor growing process. And I remember like literally growing Zoll hash in the garage with Dirty and Francis and some other oaks. And I was so fascinated about this concept of, forget the weed, it was the indoor growing process. And I don't know, I just had this love for it. And through that whole kind of indoor growing concept, I thought, Mauritius has the highest level of pesticides in the entire world. And the food produce is so expensive. But also with indoor growing, you get consistency. So you can grow 365 days of the year. You can do controlled climates, and the climate here is very harsh. So in the summer, you got 40-degree summers, and it's hard to get consistency and quality. And also with the whole indoor farming process, it's something that's still very new. So we're still learning, and everyone else who's doing it around the world is still learning, but it can only work in certain, or I believe it can only work in certain industries. And like landlocked islands, I think are a bit better because you can charge a bit more for the price. So yeah, it made a good story to go to Mauritius. It made sense to me to set it up here because the conditions are so hard. The price for vegetables are really high. And there was no real organic supplier at the time. So, we were like, let's be the first organic brand in Mauritius. And we're still trying to, do that.
Awesome. And so you said you had a bit of an experience with like growing things indoors. But was that always what you thought you'd get into, or did this opportunity come about naturally? How did that happen?
So, it was it was the catalyst. I think, I'd never been as interested in something before. And I remember working in South Africa and ordering a whole lot of, grow equipment, growing in my outside room that no one was growing in, and I was growing all sorts of things. So it was like a passion, I always loved it, and I always wanted to explore the idea. And Mauritius was like the escape to do it, and the place, and it just made sense, So yeah.
Awesome. And so you started this company called Jacfruit, and you touched on it a bit. Can you explain sort of the ins and outs and what exactly you guys do?
Yeah, good. So we kind of highlight some themes. So we want to be traceability. That's our main focus in this whole thing. So we want to, the traceability is basically how your food is produced by whom. So we do it all. We're a turnkey solution. So we import the seed, we grow the product, we cut the product, we harvest it, we pack it, and we deliver it. So we're kind of in charge of every step of the process, and that's all for the benefit of the consumer. So often, farms will go and they'll make such a beautiful tomato, and then they'll wholesale it, and someone else will go and package it and kind of get all the credit. So I think there's more in it, or for us at least, to do it all. I mean, it is a lot of work, but you get the recognition and you get the brand. Um, so, I mean, that's kind of what we do. So we mainly grow microgreens, and we've moved on to spinach and lettuce. And it's we've been really well received. And the farm is a 24-hour operation. You know, we literally have now, we've got staff there, and it's a 7-day operation. And we kind of ensure the shelf life of 7 days just to get the edge of our local competitors. A lot of the guys are importing things or they're growing outdoor, and they usually get a shelf life of 3 to 4 days. We get 7. So we're just trying to be this premium organic, product in Mauritius that is new to the market, but people recognize and will pay money for it. It is a niche market, but where the volume lacks, the margin will definitely make up.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so you mentioned that you started with microgreens and then started growing like spinach and that type of thing. Do you think it was beneficial to you to start small and focus on one particular product and then grow out from there?
Yeah, definitely. Because, we arrived in Mauritius, and I remember my business partner who's, he's got a really good green thumb, and he's like, good with the growing. We got you and we're like, okay, cool, where are we going to set up, And we were like, well, we have no damn place. So I called my gran and I was like, do you mind if I grow vegetables in your garage? She was like, I was like, look, I need a place. I don't have money for rent. And she was like, I was like, but you can't tell anyone this. She was like, you think I'm going to tell my friend you're growing vegetables in my basement? I was like, no, but please don't. So we got it. She was like, okay, fine, you can use my basement, my garage. And we kitted it out. And as you said, like starting small, it's almost like your business, what was like our business plan, you can always come up with your business plan and make it, but just do something on a small scale. And if it works, just go up from there. So we literally got this garage, we imported the seeds, and the main focus was getting the brand. And then, so we had our little garage, and that was kind of where it started. And it was, micros are really like, they're not hard to do, right? So it was an easy process. There was no one doing it in Mauritius, which was a good thing. And, I almost like when I first, started, I was like, microgreens not be much of a challenge, but it was actually such an amazing, step in the right direction, because all the supermarkets, that's our main retail space, they didn't have anyone doing micros. So we were able to kind of get distribution channels and go to these people and say, look, I want to try a product. And they were like, okay, cool, well, let's try it. They had no idea we were growing in a basement. They had no idea that we had, wooden shelves, and we had no idea what we were doing. The product was actually, we spent a lot of money on the brand. So yeah, we kind of started really small, like by, focusing on the branding, the look. But we would have people come to our facility and they'll be like, what the hell is this? I had no idea that you were growing in the garage. But it worked.
Yeah, that's such a valuable lesson. I think a lot of people try to start businesses and do it all at once and then tend to get overwhelmed. Whereas if you just focus on one aspect and do it really well, you can grow out from there because you have such a solid foundation. So how big is the business? You mentioned you have a few employees. Are you guys growing? What's happening?
Yeah, so we started, 2 of us, me and Chris, my business partner and cousin, and we were doing it all. And then eventually we were like, okay, we are moving on to Grand's garage, and we got a really nice spot in Pamplemousse. It's next to a botanical garden. And basically it's an old textile factory where they used to store sugar canes. It's got really thick walls, high buildings. And the deal was, you guys can rent it, but it's a shit building, so fix it up. So we got a really cheap rent, and we put a bit of money into the building, and we've grown. So now we've got 5 staff, coming on 6 as of next month. The staff are like the most important part of the puzzle, because these guys are doing the work that me and Chris used to do, which is the hard, the planting, the packing, the cutting, the harvesting. And it's a lot of work, and we recently bought a greenhouse, so the guys are growing the spinach in there, and it's hot. but there's definitely a lot of growth. I mean, I'm completely, I mean, our brand's kind of got traction within the local market. There's a big health problem in Mauritius. There's a lot of diabetes. And we've kind of got a proven track record that we can actually trace, each step of our production process. And if people ask, we show them. We also do tests. We do tests to prove that the pesticide levels are within the EU standard. So yeah, there's definite growth. The only problem that we are facing at the moment is that we can't keep up with demand. So not a bad thing.
Yeah, that's a great problem to have. Do you think it was beneficial for you to sort of learn the whole process and like bootstrap it yourself with just the two of you? So when you start employing more people, you understand exactly the processes and what they're going through.
Definitely, because like 100%, I worked in my father's business before this, and that was one of the things that I couldn't get my head around, is that, I knew nothing, and you're in this big industry and everyone's looking at you and you're almost like a wow. So to start something from scratch, sweep the floor, to do all the work that they've done, you almost have I have no worries telling someone to do something because I've always done it. And I've been there, and I kind of understand if I'm pushing a guy too hard, if I'm not, because I've done all the work. I know the systems. So for me, that's like a huge, it's like comfortability to know what I'm doing, to know that everyone else around me, is comfortable. And, I know the curry, I've cooked the soup, I've added the ingredients and I've done it, so it's something that I actually value, just to be comfortable at work, knowing that you've done all the processes, instead of going to a big corporate and like sitting at a big desk and having to meet and greet 100 people and just be like a cog in the wheel, where essentially, I've created this thing from scratch. And now it's actually got people to build something and to have someone value it. It's not so easy.
Definitely. It is so valuable for a founder to understand how each little piece of the puzzle fits. So you mentioned being a cog in the wheel, and just before COVID started, you and I had a conversation where you said that you felt very strongly about the corporate ladder life not really being for you. And I resonate with that too. So what was this a difficult conclusion to come to with the majority of your circle going that normal route?
I don't know, because, for me personally, to choose that route would probably be the hard decision, but that doesn't always mean, the hard choice is often the right choice. So, it's such a tough one, because there's two sides to the coin, to be able to kind of say, I'm going to go do my own thing and start my own company. There's a bit of privilege in that. Knowing that if it doesn't work out, you can fall back onto something, or you went to a nice school, you've got a backing. So it's quite hard to kind of, be like, oh, I'm, an honorable, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and start my own thing. You kind of, a lot of people don't have that option, and they kind of just got to do the hard work and stick to the corporate ladder, and because, that's all they have. So it's for me, I just know I don't fit in that environment. I love, I don't know, being outdoors or kind of just working for myself. My father did the same thing. It's never been something in my family. So I just don't think I could be adjusted to it. I mean, if I had to, I would, but it's definitely for me the right choice. And I've loved it. But if I look at it, like quite in depth without trying to get too deep, it's not everyone can do it. And I think maybe that's what's holding a lot of people back.
Yeah, that is very true. But on the other side of the coin, I think more people want to maybe take that entrepreneurial path, but there's a bit of fear involved. And like you said, framing your mindset, understanding that worst case scenario is not actually as bad as it seems. Like you may have to go sleep on your parents' couch or something if it fails, but you're still very fortunate, like you said, to have your parents' couch to fall back on. And in that scenario is not as bad as people sort of think as maybe being like out on the street or having nothing to their name, which I don't really think is as true as people think.
I do completely. I do agree with you on that. Like depending on what risk you're taking, for us, I kind of, I chatted to, a couple of people, some people not older than me who are experienced, and food is a relatively safe, investment, I would say. People need to eat. The way we did it, I mean, we funded ourselves in the start, so it was organic. But, if you were going to go and do something mega, you would have to really think about it, So for me personally, the risk wasn't too big. And as you said, knowing that I could fall back was not something, I wouldn't see it as a failure. But I mean, what I've learned through this process, if I had to fail tomorrow, I wouldn't regret a single thing of it. It is like doing an MBA course over 3 years intense. So it's something I would recommend to everyone. I mean, it's just amazing. Starting your own thing, even if it's a side hustle, it doesn't have to be your main focus,
Yeah, I think it's important to frame it in that way. You don't really see a business failing as a complete failure. There's so many things and lessons you learned throughout the process that it's worth giving it a go, even if it doesn't work out. So I benefited a lot from sort of removing myself from South Africa. And I know you obviously have moved to Mauritius. And did you find that it was beneficial for you to move to somewhere else? Do you think it was important in finding the right path for you?
Yeah, big time, because so you can just I'll just start with like lifestyle. It's way more active here. I mean, I was in Joburg, and I speak for myself here, but I was drinking every weekend. I didn't have a real hobby. I didn't like running. I like to do outdoor things. And I was just kind of, I wouldn't say I was unhappy, but by moving here, firstly, I became a lot more healthy, which is just incredible for the mind. And I got a great hobby, which I love, and also removing yourself from, this, you went to school with all your friends, and then you went to university, and the kind of bubble grew bigger, but it didn't change much. There's still a lot of people the same, and then you kind of come back to it, and it's the same kind of bubble. It just gets bigger, and then, as I said, nothing wrong with it, but for me, just removing myself from all of that and starting fresh and not having any commitments, being able to think, having my weekends to myself. Everyone says Mauritius is a small place, but it's something that I've almost gotten addicted to. I love it. Just being able to say, what am I doing this week? What am I doing this weekend? And just to be free and not have so much on the agenda. So for me personally, it's been an amazing switch. It was hard in the beginning with COVID. I mean, I'm sure it was hard for everyone too. Especially trying to start the company. Our first year was like null and void. But looking back and just where we are now and my mindset in terms of health, it's a positive. I'm not super healthy, but I'm a lot more I was in Joburg. The business is doing okay. We're paying our wages, we're paying ourselves, we're surviving, and I'm happy. So yeah, I'm so stoked because that I got myself out of Joburg, and I mean, it sounds terrible because it's a good place and we shouldn't abandon it, but yeah, I'm happy I left, and yeah.
Yeah, so am I. I had this sort of inkling that I needed to remove myself from my current social circle, and I didn't really have a destination. I just knew that I had to go live in some other country and experience different cultures. And by chance, I ended up in Hong Kong, and it was the best thing that has ever happened to me. I changed completely. My perspectives changed, my goals changed. I started focusing more on myself. And there's all that, it's not necessarily just Johannesburg. It's more just like your immediate social circle. There's a a drinking culture, and that's like something you share in common. And removing myself from that made me reevaluate how much I enjoy drinking and what it actually does to my body. And so I ended up stopping, and I haven't drank for like 3.5 years. And I'm so happy I made that decision. It's crazy how just removing yourself from a particular context can change the way you think about a whole lot of things.
Yeah, I completely agree. And well done, because I mean, that's impressive.
Thanks. Well, I
So
had
cool.
COVID was part of that, and made it a lot easier because Annie, my girlfriend, and I stopped at the same time. And then like we didn't have things to go to as much, not many social events. And so we were able to go for longer periods without having to socialize, and then just got easier and easier. And yeah. So,
Nice, boy. Yes.
Thanks. So, how did you know that this idea or business would become a profitable one? Did you do any research beforehand to validate your idea?
So I listened to the whole, business plan thing, and I was like, I'm just going to do this thing, low profile. I mean, I don't know if you listened to the guy Raz, how I built this, and there's
Yes.
a great podcast on it with the founders of Ben and Jerry, the ice cream, and they kind of spoke about, how they formulated their business plan, and they basically just copied it from a guy who was selling pizza, and when the numbers didn't work out, they just changed numbers so they worked out. So, I mean, for my industry, not such. It's a great thing, I'm sure, for the financial markets and things. But for us, it's quite simple. You're making a product. The product must cost you X, and you got to sell it for this amount, and you cover your margins. So it wasn't necessarily such a hard formula to come up with. We knew that this is what it costs us to make, so we need to sell it for a lot more. And as I said, the margins here in Mauritius are almost 5 times more than South Africa. So you can cover. The first year we made a small profit. The second year we made quite a big loss, which was fine because we spent a lot of money buying new equipment. But you have to grow. And this year we're on track to do a really good year. So it's something that I guess just, I don't know, hard work and consistency. I mean, always those things, a business plan, all that, just show up to work and do the hard work every day. Just be there, I think, and just throw away your ego for 5 minutes and sit in it. I did everything. I had to go pitch to everyone I could. I was the delivery driver. I was the cleaner. I would go to the supermarkets. I'd pack the shelves. I'll wait in line, and it's just like, just do what you have to do to make it work. And above all, just make sure your product is consistent, because it takes one bad batch of food for people not to buy it. So it's quite a fickle market in that regard. And in Mauritius, the supermarkets, sometimes they shut their fridges at night, so it's hard to control the last step of the growing, or the last step of the process, which is selling, which we're not in control over. But it wasn't such a hard concept whether we're going to be profitable or not. Look, it would be simple if the product wasn't being bought, well, then we'd be out of business. So that was kind of it. And by starting in a garage and buying some wood, some shelving, some lights that we bought from our hardware, wired them up, got some fans, spent a bit of money on branding, went to a packaging guy, got the stuff, packaged. And one of the benefits in starting off in Mauritius, it may not be your end destination, but it's a great place to start small in a country where the rules are relaxed. So if I had to start in England, I'd have to get all these certificates like health and safety. They would inspect my building. I mean, I just made this thing, went to supermarkets, they didn't ask me a question. I did show them all my I don't want to lie to the consumer, so I did show them my pesticide results, which we were organic. But we definitely didn't meet health and safety standards in terms of the building requirements, that we wouldn't in first world countries. So in the barriers to entry, there aren't many, but it allows you to get good experience on the market without having to spend a lot of money. It's a great playground. So, I mean, we're actually dealing with customers who are, have large, spendable incomes, be a niche market, So we're getting a realistic, market experience by people buying our product and feedback. So, I mean, we have been approached by one or two companies to set up in other countries, but I mean, we're not there yet. But it just shows, it's a great place to start small. And, sometimes it can be quite daunting, don't put the cart before the horse. We grew up essentially in the cart. We grew up in nice houses, go to nice schools, and you think to yourself, flip, I'm starting this little business. How will I ever get to where, I was brought up in the environment I was brought up in? And it happens. I guess it just happens when, you just know you got 30 years to do this company. If it fails, it fails. But just, try your best and think big. There's so many different, income channels that you can do through one thing. So it wasn't a hard thing to start up with, to be honest. This specific industry, I mean, microgreens was the best way to actually start a company. And now we're trying to expand to become a full, basically the full lettuce or leafy green supply on the island, have 8 products, all organic, and to do all the supermarkets and then private label for them. So there's so many different ways to make money. So yeah, it was a great and easy way to start a company. Now, on the other hand, we have, borrowed money and we got a certain amount we need to pay back every month, and that can be stressful, but we haven't, we always make it just in time and we survive,
Yeah, I was just about to ask about funding. Did you get funding at the start? You just mentioned you got some funding as halfway through. So how did that process work? And
yeah, so in the beginning, we just went on our own pocket. And it was kind of cool, as you're talking about a financial plan. I'd worked out what we can make in this garage in terms of revenue, and I was almost spot on in terms of what we were making. So I was like, yeah, cool. I kind of know how to cook or make the sandwich. It's working. I know all the ingredients. I know what it's costing us. So I had the confidence, and going back to privilege again. I mean, I went to my father. I said, look, do you mind if I borrow some money? He said, okay, cool. These are the terms. You got to pay me back, interest rate higher than the bank. So I said, well, okay, that's fine. So he didn't make it easy on me, which I respect. And we've borrowed the money, and we made a big mistake. We bought this big indoor farm, and it wasn't the way to go. So this whole concept of indoor farming, as I'm starting to kind of get into it, I've realized that indoor farming with lettuce, I don't think is profitable anywhere around the world. And it's almost like the bubble's starting to burst. So we've kind of got this big farm, which is meant to grow 3,000 lettuces a month. It's just, there's lots of silly mistakes on it. But we've modified it, and we're growing these incredible baby leaves on it. And it's kind of, we've learned to make the most of it. But now our focus basically is changed from growing, all big greens, lettuce, spinach, rocket, are grown outdoor in controlled greenhouses, quite specialized, and then all the micros are indoor. So I mean, everyone always says this. I wish I knew more, because if I started knowing what I knew now, I think I'd be leaps and bounds ahead. So we've made some seriously silly mistakes, but hasn't been costly. I mean, the lettuce still sells. So we're selling a lettuce cost price to the supermarket at 100 rupees a bag, which is around 38 rand, and then they add their markup on it too. So Mauritius, being a small island, has allowed us to make the biggest fuck ups and still survive, which is actually incredible, because these big buffers in your margins, and we kind of run small overheads, have allowed us to survive. But it's just the whole indoor farming sector. I'm just so, going into it, I've loved it. I've learned so much, but I'm so hesitant for anyone to go more into it. And there's so many big industries and companies that are pumping in hundreds of $1 million into these big indoor farms. The sun is always free. The quality is just as good. And our electricity bill, if I just work out what I'm saving on that per month, it's huge. So it's paid off because we've modified this farm to do specialized greens, and it's taken a lot of work. But going back, I would have taken that money and used it to do what I know now. So yeah, I mean, it has been a bit of stress. I mean, some months, we've defaulted, we've had to pay double on double months. We're trying to go to the bank now for another loan because we need to keep, we got this demand, and it's like a death cycle. It's like you can't supply the demand, but if you don't supply the demand, your revenue will never increase. But I think we've made it out of there called the death valley, for a startup. The 2 years is like really tough, and then things start to show. So the brand has been picked up around the markets. People really like it. They love the shelf life and the quality, which is a big thing in Mauritius. You'll buy lettuce and it doesn't last longer than 2 days. So yeah, through this kind of consistent, reliability in the product, we've managed to get a good market. But yeah, it hasn't been easy, bro.
Oh, I'm sure. It's always so easy to look back and say you would do things differently, but if you didn't go through that process, then you wouldn't have learned those valuable lessons.
Yeah.
At the beginning, how did you guys go about paying yourself, or did you pay yourselves? How did you approach that?
Yeah, it's been tough, bro. We've learned, which is an incredible lesson. Like, we were having a conversation the other day around the table with people my age, and they were like, it must be so stressful to like not earn a good salary and to not know that you're financially secure. So this is the other side of starting your own company. It's stressful, knowing that you might have to pay you have to pay your staff before you pay yourself. And some months you'll just pay yourself less. But yeah, for the first year, we were earning minimal stuff. I mean, we were just getting by. Fuel was just, it was touch and go. I mean, we didn't go out. I was eating so much fish. That's all I was eating. How to go fishing would pay for my, one tuna would last me like a month of food. So we were like, it was hell of a stressful. And like, it just came to the point where it was like, it just drives you to kind of, I don't know, work harder. And then the second year, we got ourselves a really, really basic salary, and fuel was covered, food was covered at the farm. When I say food, we got a lunch and a breakfast, which helps, and then this year we've earned still a minimal amount, but enough to live, I would say, relatively comfortably. But it's been a hectic, like stress. It's hard to put in. So it's not necessarily stress, but it's like kind of on your mind. You don't have the money to kind of, live a nice life, but at the same time, your company's making enough money every month to be like, okay, it's okay. Like, there is my money, there is my income, there's my salary. Like, so you kind of got to have that mindset where the company's making X amount, and in your head, you're like, well, that's actually a good amount, and that's technically mine, so I'm okay with it. So that's kind of the only positive to it, where you just kind of going to realize, well, hold on, maybe I can sell this thing and recover everything I've lost. And it's actually a good time in your life. I mean, what do we have? We don't have kids. We have girlfriends. We can it's a one time in your life to kind of give this thing a good go and live cheap and get by and hustle. Because when you get older, it doesn't look so nice. And I think if you had a kid, it would be a hell of a lot more stressful.
Yeah, definitely. It's important to note that, like, starting a business is not easy, and you've almost got to have so much faith in yourself and just determination to get through those tough times, and then it can all be worth it. But a lot of people see the sort of end result and think that it was all sunshine and rainbows, but right at the beginning, it obviously wasn't. So priorities change throughout the life of a business. Could you give me some examples of like your priorities when you first started compared to what you're focusing on at the moment?
Yeah. So when we first started, it was basically the groundwork. It was waking up early and mixing the soil, planting, harvesting, cutting, trying to, just create a product. We were a lot more hands-on. I did a bit of the sales where Chris was, kind of managing the farm. So, having a partner, just to touch on that, is, I mean, I'm very happy that I was able to do this whole process with someone, and also to have someone that is different is so important, because Chris is really keen to get stuck in, and he doesn't really mind working really long hours, with his hands. And I don't mind it either, but I also love the marketing, the sales. I love selling. I get such a thrill when I go close a deal. So it kind of having two different roles without telling someone that that's your role and that's my role, it kind of makes a great team. So, in the beginning, we worked together, and there was no one had this thing to do. We could all do what we wanted, but I was kind of set on, look, let's try get into the supermarket. We need to start selling. And Chris was just, let's get this product growing. So he would do all the growing, the cutting. And it was just we were doing everything we could do. And we employed our first guy about 6 months in. And he helped us grow tremendously. And now, up until now, it still hasn't changed as much. I mean, we're still very hands-on. But in terms of admin, like, I've become admin king, and I fucking hate it. I have to sit there, chase payments. Some people don't pay you; they're out of cash. Mauritius is quite hectic with they pay you 60 days late, so your cash flow is always an issue. Managing, I wouldn't say our staff are great, so but still managing people, which is 99% of, I think, every company. And then, also just dealing with customers, creating new, distribution channels. So it's changed where I'm not actually involved in planting and growing and but I'm still there, and I'm still watching, and I'm still telling the guys what to do. But it's become a bit of administrative work, which is fine. I can do it. I'd rather just, not pay a person, and it's a couple hours out of my day, and I can still get on. And I'm sure this time of my life will pass, and we'll have an accountant to do all this bullshit work. But it is so important. I mean, like, the one thing is just to know the money coming in into your business and out. So, I'm very like, what are we spending? What are we making at the end? Those are my two kind of main. I mean, you have to be hands on with that. And also chasing payments. We just have to make sure people pay us. We're doing, 30, 40 invoices a day, and they're not small. I mean, they're not big. So, I don't know, in pounds, maybe a couple, 50 pounds here, 40 pounds there. And you need to chase people to pay. And, often these statement of accounts can add up after months, and it's just something that you need to stay on top of, especially in Mauritius. So it's become nice in a way that I don't actually have to get so dirty anymore. And I quite like that. I can go to work in a collared shirt. Some days, no. I mean, yesterday we went and we laid concrete the whole day, so it all depends. But it's just become a bit more relaxed on the hands-on side, which I'm happy about, to be honest.
Awesome. And so you've described a few low points throughout the process. Do any more in particular come to mind? Because I know building a business, there's many low points throughout the whole thing.
So you say any low points throughout the whole experience?
Yeah.
Not having cash, not paying myself was like it was just so minimal. I mean, we were like living so tight for the first year and a bit, and it just eats at your mind. I can't explain it, but like, you stress, and you're like, when will I actually start being able to just, living a bit? But it's just more for your own security. It's weird. So that's still something that is on my mind, and every month we just reinvest into this company, and it's like, shit, when can we take something out? Or not necessarily take some out, but beef it up a bit. So that's been quite tough to kind of deal with. It's made me, it's been a good thing, but it's made me quite understand what bit about what hunger is, I guess. Not literally being hungry, but, just wanting to make more money. And you just want to make your month end to make sure you have enough cash in the bank to pay everyone. Just you don't want to carry debt. As much as it's your father's, it's still something that you can't do. We've got to pay our rent every month. Our salaries are quite high. Electricity, water, fuel, credit card expenses, seed costs. So to default on a payment is something I never want to be into. But there have been times where it's like, oh, we're going to make it through this month. And it's not a nice position. It just weighs on your mind, owing someone money. And then, sometimes the quality of the product is not really, I wouldn't say a low point, but it's a consistent factor that's frustrating, is that you're importing these high quality seeds from Europe that are organic and not sprayed, and you're paying a lot of money for these seeds, and often the batches are inconsistent. So you'll grow a crop and it'll be amazing, and then next 3 months you'll import a new batch of seed and the batch is shit, and you paid thousands of euros for this bloody seed to arrive. You're stuck with it, and all of a sudden, you're getting, let's say, 3 products instead of 1, or you're getting 1 product instead of 3, and your whole business model plan is now like out the window, and your consistency drops. So it can be quite frustrating, having great batch and everything goes back normal, and then a crap batch and you're struggling to get the right consistency, and it doesn't last as long. It can sometimes smell, and it just changes your whole method. Your methodology has to change. Everything changes at how you grow. Blackout stage. It's frustrating. It's a common occurrence.
I can imagine. So there's a commonly used phrase, work on the business rather than in it. Have you been able to manage this? How do you find that in your experience?
I don't know, because I would say working on the business, it's a bit of both, I would say. You have to be involved. I guess it's not somewhere. I don't think this specific industry is something where you can just kind of look at the books, look at it, and assess from an outside, perspective. You need to be there, telling the guys what to do, how to plant, how to harvest, how much to cut. You're selling a product that people eat, and it's such a finicky market. You go to Woolworths and you buy a shit meal, and you're like, well, never again. Whereas I guess if you're selling, let's say, just say you got a product that you're selling plastic toys. Every time the toy is great, you don't have to be there every day. You just got to make sure that the business, is okay. And so you got to be there for me. You have to be hands-on, so, and that's something I like, to be stuck in. So it's definitely, you have to be involved.
So it is very different to most businesses. So you mentioned the ego a bit earlier, and many founders struggle to detach their ego or self-worth from the actual success of the business. Have you struggled with this at all?
Yeah, no, you do, because it's small things, and in the beginning you don't mind, but it's a weird thing. But you're getting stuck in, and every day you're doing deliveries, and you kind of want to be seen as more at this stage after 3 years. You want to be kind of, I don't know, driving a nice car or doing nice things, or not having to go and do the dirty work. And it's something that I don't like doing, to be 100% honest with you. Walking into a restaurant with a big delivery box and be like, "Hey, I'm here to deliver, my food," and just it's a pull that I've had to swallow, which I'm happy about. But it's something that it's been such a great learning curve. Every time we go out, we're not the people. We're just there to have a good time, and we don't see that. You see someone coming in and doing the dirty work. It's like, well, that's not someone I know. That's not someone I actually spend time with or have in my social circle. And then going, the other side, and actually, waiting in line to deliver to a supermarket, for 3 hours with all the other drivers, talking crap, getting involved, and and people drive past kind of looking at you like, what's this, guy doing in a van, what's the story here? And you go and you kind of got to fight for your spot. And it's tough out there, you have to find a fight to get your spot in. And so you got to be in the right mood. And sometimes it can be quite hectic, get cracked on. And it's like, shit, did I really sign up for this? Do I really want to be in this like position of driving around, delivering? This like, it's funny. I mean, it's like a low paying job, but it's part of the business, and it's a bit of a privilege thing. I guess it's such a weird thing to speak about because you don't want to do it, but you have to do it. But it's a very, very interesting question because it's something that I thought I think hopefully a lot of people deal with, because it's something that I constantly struggle with, having to really just get, in and just dirty and just get stuck in. I mean, the one day I was out there cleaning the supermarket shelves with these 2 buckets I bought in, cleaning my spot, and having people coming upon me, what are you doing? I'm making sure that my product is ready to be displayed, and I'm cleaning my shelf, and just doing the work that I know I have to do. And it's so important,
Yeah, that is important. It shows what it takes to get shit done. So has your dedication to your business affected any personal relationships at all? How do you find the balance?
Maybe no, I don't think so actually. If anything, it's maybe actually, bettered my relationship. Just me being happier with what I'm doing, and working on my own time. So I don't, not necessarily for me, to be honest. I've actually found a passion, and I'm actually in a better space. So I think for me personally, just for where I am right now, no, I can't necessarily think about.
That's great.
No, I don't think so. Yeah,
that's great to hear.
Yeah.
So it's obvious that everyone learns from doing. So what were the most valuable skills that you've learned from your Jacfruit experience?
But I mean, obviously the growing side, like how to grow a product, right? I mean, people spend years studying this. They work on farms for, multiple years. We had zippo experience. We went into this whole thing, and we still don't know what we're doing, to be honest. And it kills us. So I think the most valuable thing is developing the product. That's like, that's worth a lot of money, that people will pay money for. So knowing how hydroponics work, it's so technical. Like the nutrient cycle. I'll give you an example. If you have to feed a baby plant like a steak, it would die. You got to feed it Panutro, It's like, it's so technical. And in the beginning, we had plants dying off left, right, and center, tip burn, mildew. I was, on every forum trying to find out what was wrong, speaking to all these guys, these professors that didn't know me, telling me things. And you have to be there. It's like, it's so hard. It's such a hands-on thing that, someone will tell you something and you're like, okay, let me try it. And the frustrating thing is that you can't fix it like right then and there. You got to wait 40 days for the thing to grow again, and then wait for another problem to happen. So it's not a process you can easily fix. So growing a plant on a commercial scale is extremely hard. We always have problems. We still have problems. There's always problems, but it's a challenge and you overcome them. So for me, that was like number one, and it still is number one. And then number two is just distribution, having a product that can survive the cold chain in Mauritius. So we are like pedantic about how we make this product. So we work all day, and then we have cutters at night. So we have 2 guys cutting at a night shift, and they work from 6 till 11, and they cut the product. Your product will last longer if you cut in lettuce at night and then during the day, so you get more shelf life. So we have lights everywhere in the greenhouse. So we cut at night, we pack them in the cold room, and then the next morning they're delivered. So it's literally delivered within 24 hours, which is like, it's so important to keep the cold chain going. So the whole idea is, from the plant should never exceed a degree of 21 degrees throughout its whole packaging cycle. And you put all this work into it, and you get to a supermarket in Mauritius, and they're third world, and you wait, and you get outside, and you deliver the product, and you'll say to the person, can I pack it? Can I go make sure I put it in the fridge? They'll say, no, leave it there, we'll pack it. And you come back maybe an hour, your basket with all your goods is still sitting, in the heat, and you're like, all this damn work, it's just, it's wasted. And then you'll go to the supermarket and it hasn't been packed correctly, or it's been squished, or it's in the corner. And so it's like, you just not being, you can't be a control freak on everything, but just, it kills me to not be in control of that last, cycle, which is selling, which is the most important thing. So, I mean, we've gone now to the extent of, when I was in America, there are these things called salad pushers. And basically, you put a salad out and the next one gets pushed through. It's like a spring-loaded system. And I've ordered a whole lot of these things. The supermarkets have agreed to take them, and we're going to stick them into our shelving spots, and it'll just guarantee like a beautiful display of greens, because we need to be premium. So it's just, those two factors are extremely hard, because you're not in control of them, and you can't do anything about it, fortunately. So those are my two problems, big problems.
Yeah, it seems like you've learned a shitload from this whole experience. So interesting. What advice would you give someone who wanted to start their own business?
Start small, and just be there. Just be there, consistent. What's the word? You need like what's the word when you're always there? You need what's the
presence.
word? Accountability. Presence. When you need to be consistent in the job, you have to always make sure you're there every day. And I think it's just a lot of hard work. So to start a business, I mean, I don't know, just have the courage to do it. And I'm just trying to think what lessons we learned, but just start small and get good staff. They'll save you, and speak to them nicely, treat them well, look after them, they'll look after you. At the end of the day, like, I love my staff. I call them like my sons. It's 4 sons, and they're such good oaks, and like, I bring them fish. I'm so invested in their lives, because they do so much for me. And like, without these guys, we wouldn't be where we are today. And they're doing the hard work that I used to do. I don't know what they've been through. So, like, you can't do it all, and don't try to do it all. Just, you got to have trust in people. And in the beginning, I was like, you can't do this, I'm going to do it. You can't do everything. And it ends up being a bit of a half job. You're doing 1 hour of accounts and you can't finish it, so you're going to try to do 1 hour of harvesting and nothing's really done. So just kind of have confidence in people to do the job that you used to do, which is sometimes really hard, because it's your baby, you've kind of brought it up. You have a certain, understanding of how it should be. And then also, I think, trust in luck. I think eventually, business is a bit of hard work, and I think a lot of luck, eventually you'll get that little winning streak and you'll be off. So it's just, be patient with the whole process. And, you can start off by selling, your brother was selling, what was your brother selling? Rusks.
Yeah, he was selling rusks.
But it's like, start off by fucking selling rusks. And, next minute, like, you've got another product and then another product. And, like, it may seem small in the beginning, but the more you, like, get into this product and you learn about it, you'll be like, hold on, there's another way to make money, and there's another way to make money. And there's just, don't worry about, where people are and how much they're making, and if your product's going to make it or not. Just get stuck in, and by doing so, you'll just learn so much about it in other ways. I know it's not always about money, but at the end of the day, you need to make some cash. You need to, and in Mauritius especially, you need to diversify your income streams. So we can't just sell vegetables. I've realized that. So we've pitched to some supermarkets, and there's no private label. So in Woolworths, you get a Woolworths salad. So we're like, look, we'll do all your salad for you. Just you brand in your colors. And they were like, cool. So all of a sudden, you've got this massive market that no one else does, that I would never have thought of a year ago.
Yeah. So just stick it out, stick to your guns, and have confidence in yourself.
I think so, guys.
So what are the future plans for Jacfruit? What's the goal?
Well, bro, a lot of fishing. No, I'm just joking. I don't know, bro. So we need to. I've kind of got the courage now to just pump whatever money we can to this thing. I believe in it now. So we're going to borrow some cash from the bank, and develop. So we want to become a premium, the biggest supplier of lettuce, and micros and herbs in Mauritius. And kind of once we've got that market, we want to set up other things that that will stem from the business. So we want to do some salad bars, premium salad bars. We grow all the product, we sell it, and also just focus on the middle income population of Mauritius, where there's just no healthy food for them, and it's just full. There's a lot of wheat and on the island and bread, and it's just caused a huge increase of diabetes. So we want to kind of do all our lettuce, and then the idea is to do some salad bars next year, some new residential spots, and then from there we'll take it as it comes. Just step by step. So yeah, that's the idea.
Awesome. Sounds like some really cool projects on the horizon. So you mentioned fishing at the beginning of that answer, and so I want to take like a side left turn and speak about that side project you started called Fishing Outlaws. What was the thinking behind starting the Instagram page, and how did it come about?
So we were fishing during COVID, and we weren't allowed to be fishing. So at night we would sneak out, and I don't know, one Mike was like, made a group on WhatsApp, and he was like, called it the Fishing Outlaws, and we kind of, this group just kind of got so active, and we would chat on it nonstop, and we all just, us three ended up fishing. It's me, Dylan, and Mike, the three of us who are part of the Outlaws. And eventually one of us was like, let's start an Instagram page for fun, out of passion, and it's become like a full-on thing. It's like a second job. Like there's like meetings, and like, how are we going to fish, or what are we going to fish? Like if you rock up to like a fishing day and you're not on your A game, you get tuned, but it's a lot of fun, so yeah, it came about from COVID, and so that's the thing, it's so nice to have like an escape, and fishing is that for me. So most weekends, it seems like everyone thinks I fish every day, but I definitely don't. I wish I could. But most weekends we go out, and it's like a great way to just be like, cool, this is my hobby, spending like half the day on the water, and it's a great hobby, and I love it. It's actually like a great like factor for me to be in Mauritius. It kind of reminds me that this is a good spot to be in. So yeah, I mean, we hunt tuna, and we sell all our fish, and we kind of make merch, and we're just trying to have a bit of fun with it. And maybe the idea is to kind of, if it ever does become something, then we could maybe do something with it. But it's mostly fun, and it's a passion project.
Yeah, I loved watching your guys' videos. I've never been deep sea fishing, so I sort of lived vicariously through you guys. But if I come to Mauritius, I'd love for you to take me out on the boat and go fishing. But Mike was part of the team, and so he's not in Mauritius anymore, is that right?
Yeah. So Mike, he's in London, in the corporate ladder, but he's happy. He's there with his girlfriend, who she's originally from England. So it was like a kind of wasn't such a big step from being able to go there with this girlfriend who knows, what London's about, and he seems to be really enjoying it. But it is sad to have a member down because he was good comedy. I enjoyed it with him. Yeah.
So
Nice
my last
catching-
question. Pardon? Catching trout.
Nice catching trout in the rivers of the south of London, England.
Yeah. Big change to tuna in the beautiful deep blue seas
Yeah.
of Mauritius.
Is it? Yeah.
So my last question of every show is a bit of a selfish one, but the purpose of the show is selfish anyway. I'd get to learn from guys like you. So that being said, what advice would you give me on how I can improve hosting the show?
Shit, Giz. Get some pictures in the back there, bro. It's a blank canvas behind you.
That's noted, definitely. Okay, put some pictures up.
Get a little picture, something cool, some neon lights. Shit, Giz. I mean, I have to think about that. When I read through your questions last night, they were awesome. There we go. I can't see it. There we go. Yeah, get some more going there. Bro, honestly, I don't think I have to think about it, Giz, but you were great, bro. Your questions were flipping awesome. You were engaging. You weren't awkward. It felt natural. I do know you, but yeah, bro. If I think of something along the lines, I'll tell you. But
Awesome.
just
Thank you.
don't give up. This shit is a lot of craft, and I guess you have to be consistent and just do fucking weekly videos. So yeah, be patient
I really enjoy just chatting to everyone. It's so great that I know so many people who have gone out and done their own thing. So just trying to learn. So it doesn't really feel like work to me. It's just having a convo. Like, we haven't chatted in quite a while, and now we get to catch up, and I get to ask you some questions that I'm curious about. So it's a win-win for me, really. So
nice.
Thanks for chatting with me today, James. I really appreciate it. It was great learning about Jacfruit and like all the things you've been through, all the things you're struggling with, and looks like you've like now come out the other end of all those hardships, and it's really starting to turn into something promising. So if people wanted to learn more about you and Jacfruit, or simply just get in touch, how would they do so?
So we have a website, jacfruit.mu. We also have an Instagram handle, which is the same thing, Jacfruit without the K. So it's jacfruit.mu. And we kind of active on Instagram. You get a good insight on what we do and what things look like, the product, the branding. We try to give kind of some, behind the scenes videos. So, you can kind of look at the farm, see how we do things. So I would say that's the best way to kind of check us out. And then if you would like to chat further, there is a WhatsApp function on the Jacfruit webpage, which goes to a spare phone we have, not mine. And people can chat to us and do all our orders on it. And so if you are desperate, you can WhatsApp that link on the website.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, James. It was great chatting. Cheers.
Thanks. Good. Cheers, my boy.
Thanks for listening. I hope you learned something. Everything we discussed will be in the show notes. And remember to just get started and push through the tough times. See you next week.